Jeff, in August, you were following the price of the aerospace giant Boeing, and I'm wondering what put this company on your radar? What made this jump out to you?
Well, actually, there was a very well-known Elliott Wave pattern in Boeing developing this year, and it actually began in February and terminated in August. And that Elliott Wave pattern is a contracting triangle, one of the three primary corrective Elliott Wave patterns there are, the other two being a zigzag and a flat. So that's what actually caught my attention initially about Boeing's price chart, that triangle.
And it was quite an aggressive forecast, wasn't it?
Actually, no, it was not. Based on the proportion of the triangle, the size, and something that Elliotticians refer to as a triangle thrust, it was quite easy to make a projection of higher prices in Boeing in August for about a $50 price move, up to about $390 if I recall.
And Jeff, soon in the months after, Boeing had several eventful contracts and deals. These were in the news. Did any of this factor into your analysis?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Dana, because I wasn't aware of that. As a technician, my primary focus is the price charts. And as an Elliottician, my primary focus, of course, will be the Elliott Wave patterns. So I tend to focus primarily what's going on with the chart and actually the underlying wave patterns or wave structure. Now, having said that, I might pay attention to a stock if maybe earnings are coming out next week. But really, as far as overall news events, that's factored actually into the price of the stock. That's what technicians believe. And so, simply put, I really wasn't aware of all that, all the action behind the scenes going on in Boeing. But again, I'm not surprised because the price chart, but ultimately, price is what matters most.
I see. It's so interesting because I think a lot of people have this idea that what's happening in the news is what moves the markets, but you're looking at it purely from an Elliott Wave perspective.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of that is just simply smoke and mirrors and news events. It's kind of like you don't know what the right hand's doing if you're paying attention to the left hand. Again, as a technician, my primary focus will be on the price charts. And as an Elliottician, I will be focused on, of course, the five core Elliott Wave patterns. The impulse wave, the diagonal, the zigzag, the flat, and the triangle. And again, the triangle is what I caught my eye in Boeing this year. And since then, it's played out quite nicely.
And Jeff, did you have a price target in mind for Boeing?
Yes. Again, I was looking for a move up, so about that 390 handle, maybe as high as 400. But I believe we went up to 390 and change, and then we've reversed quite nicely.
And before we move on, is there anything else that you want to mention about that call?
Well, actually, yes. And it's the significance of the triangle and the subsequent sell-off that Boeing has since experienced. A triangle may only form by itself in the wave 4, B, or X position. Now, to simplify that for maybe some viewers that may not be familiar with the wave principle, whenever you see a triangle, it always precedes the final move of a sequence. So in other words, whenever a triangle forms on a price chart, it's kind of the market's way of letting you know that the party's almost over. And that's exactly what we saw in Boeing, because once we finished that triangle in August and then saw that subsequent $50 price move, following that, well, as you well know, Boeing has taken quite the hit. But again, this really wasn't a surprise to Elliotticians because that triangle really spoke volumes. It told us that the party was almost over following that move up to the 390 handle.
I see. And Jeff, let me just check in with Traders Classroom. Of course, you follow so many opportunities. You're very active with Traders Classroom. What looks interesting to you right now?
Well, a few things, really. I like Walgreens. Ticker symbol is WBA. I think there's additional upside available in that issue. One price chart that really has my interest is the financials ETF, XLF. And then there's another one that tracks that. That would be the FAS. That's kind of like a 3 times financial ETF. And then lastly, maybe not exciting, but Kroger, believe it or not, the ticker symbol is KR. That's another price chart that has my interest right now.
Well, it's kind of exciting to me because I go to Kroger all the time. What's happening with it?
Well, we've formed a chart pattern on the weekly level that I discuss in Trader's Classroom. Now, it's not an Elliott Wave structure per se, but it's one of my favorite trade setups, and it is a double failure swing low. And on the weekly chart level, it's quite evident. Now, I'm looking for and waiting for the breakout to really confirm my bullish expectations. We're not there quite yet, but it's a very promising chart with a lot of potential. But as of yet, that potential has not been realized, so we'll have to see what happens in 2019.
Okay, sounds interesting as always. Thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure, Dana, and thank you.